Well, howdy, all you collector car fans out there. This is Jason from Southern Bush Motorsports. I'm the owner and founder. And boy, do I got a crazy treat for you today. So I actually had to look on a map to remember where I was, but I was in Wisconsin. And I was up there looking for a fella that had called me. And he was the guy that was starting to build these Eleanor cars before anybody else was. His name was Edwin. Really cool guy, young guy, but he had a vision, and I wanted to help him best I could. So when we were done all the business with him, I said, look, man, it's a long trip up here. You got anything else for me? And he brought me over to this guy's house. This guy came out in a wheelchair with a shotgun, I shit you not. And he had all these cars that he had buried over 30 or 40 years. And there was 1,278 cars in the forest. And I don't know how he got these cars in there, because some of the trees were like massive trees. But he told me, he's like, I'm not interested in anything but selling them all. So I contacted the scrapper. Before I even got into this field, I contacted the scrapper, and I'm like, okay, let me talk about weight per cars and how much I'm going to get per car. And then I decided to walk in. And I remember when I decided to walk in, I had all my equipment with me, and this young fellow was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm not stupid, man. I know I'm going to be in here all day. I got my backpack, I got my food, I got my water with me, I got my little hose that I keep. I got a water tank on the back of me so I can drink during the day, and I got my cameras and all that. And he's like, freaking out, because he's like, how in the heck, I guess, yeah, you know what you're doing, huh? And I'm like, yeah. You might not want to come in with me, because I'm going to be in here for a couple days, at least 2 or 3 days. And it took me 3 days to go through all this stuff. I kid you not. I never really got out of the owner, because the owner was in a wheelchair. He couldn't come with me. He told me, he said, just don't screw up any of my cars. Take all the pictures that you want, but I want $2 million for all these cars. That's 1,278 cars. I'm pretty sure that was the number. Look, yeah, there was a couple Chargers hiding around. There was all kinds of cars hiding around. There was Hemi engines on the ground, like they were nothing. But how do you get all those cars out of there? How am I supposed to get all those cars out of there? I found an area where I could bring in a crushing machine, and I had a crusher come up. Look at that, Pintos and all this. There was just so much stuff. Did I find any super crazy cars? Yeah, there was a few of them in there. And this guy had this little weird warehouse where he collected stuff like this little Vespa, whatever it was called, scooter. And honestly, it was more of a shame than anything, because there were some crazy cars in there. Not like super rare cars, but, like Chevelles and, like, God, it broke my heart to see some of this stuff. Like, it was, dude, what were you thinking, man? Like, excuse me, that's a Malibu. It's not an SS, but it's a V8 Malibu, and it's pretty solid, and I would love to have that car. But no, we're just going to pile other cars on top of other cars, and, who gives a crap? It was so frustrating going through this, not to mention up there that you're dealing with all kinds of snakes and spiders, and I had so many times I had to rip off my gear because I had crap falling down my neck, and, I kept a couple of pictures of this Charger, because it was a completely untouched Charger. 69 Charger. It wasn't an RT. It was like a 383 car, nothing big. But these cars were so buried and so packed in there. And I asked them, how did all these cars get back there? It was the same thing that I always hear. My granddad used to own a salvage yard, and he used to tow his cars off the side of the road. And supposedly the grandson, which is who I was dealing with, the guy in the wheelchair, was a bit of a street racer. And he used to cause a lot of problems and stuff, and there was some crazy stuff that used to happen with that, and lots of investigations on his property and stuff. But the grandfather and him kept piling these cars in there. But they never looked at these cars like there's an old MG. He had a few side buildings where he actually gave a crap about the cars and stuck them away. But, these guys were never talking about putting these cars back there to save them for the future. They were talking about scrap metal. But, 20, 30 years later, like, look at some of these cars, man. Like, he had some GTOs and Chevelles and stuff. It was like, I don't know if he had them restored, but it was just weird. This is in a city in downtown Minnesota. It wasn't a big city, but these cars were just stuck in this little warehouse, and then it was attached to the back end of this property, which was all forest. Look, these cars are stacked 3 tall. But then you got this building that's on the side that's got all these cars in it. Some of these pictures might have been stuck in from another building that was up in that same area, but no, man. Yeah, that is what you're looking at. And I just kept thinking to myself, okay, you know, as I'm going through this, I'm counting these cars. I'm keeping a book with me on the weight of the cars. You know, some cars weigh a lot more than others do. You know, general average on these cars is this amount of pounds and that. No pistol grip shifter, thanks. I love that. Oh, what a beautiful picture. But $2 million for all of these cars, including these ones that I'm showing you here, the nice ones. And it was just a walk-away deal. He wanted to walk away from it all. Just give me the money, screw off, walk away. Yeah, it's an SS Chevelle convertible, 454 by the way. Sorry I had to put that out there. But it was crazy what this guy had saved. Like, I don't even know what that thing is. Looks like he come out of the front of it, but he had so much stuff all over the place. You know, that's a GTO convertible. But it wasn't even these nice cars that were in this one building that he had. It was about the fact that there was 1,278 cars sitting in a field just stacked on top of each other. We've got 56 Bel Air 4-door, beautiful condition. But I quickly realized with the amount of money this guy was asking, $2 million, that he had figured out the same thing that I had figured out. You know, oh, that old V-dub. That you got 1,278 cars, crush value at $400 a car. Like, man, I'm not going to make any money here. Like, this is an incredible find. That Buick Skylark right there. Grandma car, completely untouched. Like, it's even got the little fender skirts on the fenders. Old pickup truck right there. Look at the rust underneath the hood. That's not a restored truck. Look at the tires on it. They don't even remake those tires. And he had all these weird cars. Like, it was kind of like, one part of it was a dealership that was shut down. The windows were all blocked out. But then there was this property. And he had a few weird cars. Like, you know, I just wish I could figure out what these guys were thinking sometimes, because I'd have killed for some of these cars. And then he had this kind of like museum thing. Like, I don't even know what that thing is. Probably the first moped ever made. I don't know. There's an old MG. But the whole time I'm looking at this crazy place with all these cool cars, some of them are nice. Talking about 5% of them are nice cars. Most of them were in the forest. 1,278 cars times what crush value was $400 a car. That's like $520,000, maybe $530,000. Not to mention all the trouble and expense I have to go through, and the fact that I'm going to have to live out there for 3 months in this field, in the forest. I didn't know what to do. I really didn't know what to do. And I get put in situations like this all the time. Cool gas pump there. But this guy had spent a lifetime, and God bless him for collecting all this stuff. Here's a 446 back before we sorry to throw that in there, but that car was sitting there. Look at it. Unrestored car. I don't even know what that was. I think it was a Challenger. Old jukebox there, but I didn't even know what to do. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, if I say yes and give the money to this guy, what am I going to do with all these cars? How am I going to crush all these cars? I bring a crusher in, I'm going to sit there forever. I can't remember what that car was. It was a GTX convertible. Something like that. There's that 69 Charger again. Yeah, that is a Hemi engine sitting behind it. I mean, it's hard to make it out, but that's Hemi engine sitting behind it. There was stuff all over the place. Gas pumps and all that. It was such a weird situation. It was kind of like so far fetched on what I'm doing. That was a cool car. That was one of those Vegas one of those special Vegas that had all this stuff done to it from the factory or from that extra service. I don't know, but you know, GTO convertibles. Oh my God, the MG convertible, the other car beside it, and all these cars are super solid because up in this area, they didn't use salt on the roads, so the cars were all solid. So, this is one of the things you have to make a decision on. Like, look at those cool jukeboxes. This guy had been trying for years to try to sell this stuff, but how do you find somebody to walk up and give you $2 million to walk away? Look at that Volkswagen. Good God, those look like the original tires on that thing. What am I supposed to do? Like, do I make the decision to go all in? And it just didn't make any sense when afterwards, looking at this place, spending 3 days out there, I went and actually physically went to talk to some of the car crushers, and with the weight of the cars and all that stuff, it was like, if I'm lucky crushing them, look at these cars. I don't want to crush these cars. Not only myself, but there's other people out there that would kill for these cars. I don't want to crush them, but at best I was going to get $400 a car, just pure weight. And yeah, it's money, but it's like, come on, man, would you crush that Dart? Would you crush that Dodge Dart? There's another 70 beside it. And look at all those cars, the El Caminos and stuff like that in the building. Like, I didn't know what the hell to do. Honest to God, I didn't know what to do because it was so widespread out. This picture doesn't belong to that. I was in the same area, but it was a different building. And there's that 69 Charger again. I wanted that car, but it was an all or nothing deal. Either buy them all, or you're not buying nothing at all. The guy was very firm about that. It was like, man, I really don't know what to do here because I don't want to crush all those cars out in the field, but I don't have the time to spread them out all over the place and wait to sell them and all. And God, man, I remember this trip because I ended up going up there thinking, I mean, look at that beautiful car, completely untouched, unrestored. I ended up going up there for thinking I was going to spend 2-3 days. I was up there for a month, living in my van in this guy's forest, counting these cars, figuring out what I'm going to do. And it wasn't all fun and games. It was really frustrating sometimes. Like, look in the background right there. That's a 56 Bel Air hardtop, beautiful car. Again, this is a photo from another building up there. I was in Wisconsin. That's where I was. I was in Wisconsin. Look at that VW Bug. Good God, that looks like the original tires on that thing. That is a completely untouched car. Like, there's some VW people out there that would kill for that thing. And yeah, there was a lot of land yachts like this thing. That probably thing weighed about 4,000 pounds. Like, I don't want to crush these cars. Like, business is business, but I don't want to crush these old cars, man, because they got something. And that Coca-Cola trailer, I don't know what that was. But like, all these cars out there, there's that Vega again. It was like a Ford Vega or something. I don't know. You guys make the comments about what it was. Well, that wasn't part of it. It was up in the same area, but you got a RS Camaro sit beside it. You got a split window Stingray, whatever that thing is right there. But you all decide, make your comments what you want, what you would have done. But it was a really tough trip. 1,278 cars stuck out on the floor. Thanks for coming by, checking out another Tales from the Bush from Southern Bush Motorsport.